From dealing with Australia's first recession in 30 years, to adapting to working from home and growing job vacancies driven by closed borders, it's clear that businesses have faced unprecedented challenges since the onset of COVID-19. Set against this context, addressing skills shortages and building capability has now become more urgent than ever. So DeakinCo, with the help of Deloitte Access Economics, commissioned research that set out to understand the current state of learning and development in Australia and to quantify the value of L&D for organisational performance, amongst a host of other topics. Today, we'll look at the improved performance of organisations who invest in L&D. I'm joined by David Rumbens and Rhiannon Yetsanger from Deloitte to really pull this topic apart. So what are businesses saying about the measurement of their learning outcomes through L&D investment?
Yeah, well, what we found in the business survey was that 68% of businesses said that they were measuring the return on investment of L&D. It suggests that there's still about a third of businesses who aren't undertaking any measurement of return on investment. So actually understanding the impact that's having on a business and being able to quantify that, it's not an easy thing. And certainly there needs to be a few systems in place to be able to analyse how effective the training is.
There's a lot of anecdotal information around what are those sort of benefits beyond that employee satisfaction. So how does it actually impact on the bottom line? And we have, I suppose, a loose sort of cause and effect relationships. And part of this is that the application and the transition of knowledge from a learning context to on the job and therefore performance does take time. So we're now starting to get that longitudinal information that we need to start to look at the longer term impact of learning and development in organisations that goes beyond just the anecdotal stories.
There's probably a real opportunity as well with the digitisation that's occurred over the past few years. It means that we do have access to more data than ever before, and I think there's an opportunity moving forward to really exploit that data and to hopefully have some better evidence on the benefits of L&D for organisational performance.
What are the main measurements that businesses are using to measure L&D?
Yeah, so the majority of businesses who do measure L&D do so through employee satisfaction surveys. There are far fewer businesses who actually use quantitative measures to understand the return on investment of L&D. So when I say quantitative measures, I'm thinking about things like, how is training correlated with a firm's financial performance and employee productivity. Whereas laggard learning organisations were far more likely to not measure it at all, or when they do measure it, to just be using employee satisfaction surveys or other qualitative measures to understand the effectiveness of training.
And globally, we know that organisations perform better when they invest in L&D. Is that ringing true for Australian businesses?
We did some bespoke econometric modelling to understand how investment in L&D per employee is associated with business revenue per employee. And we found that a 1% increase in L&D spend per employee was associated with 0.2% increase in business revenue per employee. That's equivalent to about $1 invested in L&D per employee being associated with $4.70 additional business revenue per employee. But it's also important to note that more successful businesses are also more likely to invest more in L&D, so the relationship actually runs both ways.